At Thanksgiving dinner, my parents handed me a $10,000 check and a one-way ticket to vanish from their lives. My sister captured my reaction on camera. I smirked, accepted the money, but didn't tell them what I'd done earlier. Can you imagine your own family trying to pay you to disappear? Because mine did, right at Thanksgiving dinner. They handed me a one-way ticket and a check, a severance package from my own blood. What they didn't know, I just sold my company for $8.5 million that very morning. It started like any other Thanksgiving. The usual family gathering at my parents' home in Portland, Oregon. My sister, Chloe, and her husband, Hunter. Aunts, uncles, cousins I barely recognized. The comfortable hum of conversation. Then, my dad's voice cut through it all like a knife. We thought it was time we had a talk about your future, Ella. My stomach dropped. I looked up from my untouched plate, already knowing. Everyone at the table stopped, forks hovering in midair watching. My mom, with that fake, tight smile that never quite reached her eyes, slid an envelope across the polished mahogany. It landed with a soft thud next to my water glass. Your father and I have been talking, she said, her tone dripping with condescension. We think you need a fresh start. Somewhere far from here, where you can finally figure things out. Somewhere far from here. The words echoed in my head. My heart hammered, but I kept my face neutral. Years of being the family disappointment had taught me how to hide. What is this? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Across the table, Chloe grinned. She pulled out her phone, angling it subtly towards me. The little red light glowed. Of course. She wanted to record my humiliation, to capture the moment her loser sister finally got kicked out. Open it, my father commanded. My fingers trembled slightly as I reached for the envelope. All eyes on me. Inside, nestled beneath a one-way plane ticket to Austin, Texas, dated for the following Monday, was a check for $10,000. That, my mother announced, should be more than enough to get you settled somewhere new. We picked Austin because it's affordable and has opportunities for people like you. People like me. The phrase stung, but I refused to let it show. We think it's best if you leave Portland, Ella, my dad added, his voice firm. You've been struggling here for years. Your little tech thing hasn't gone anywhere. You're 29, still living like a college student. It's embarrassing. I just stared at the check. $10,000. A one-way ticket. They were paying me to vanish. Chloe giggled, still recording. Hunter smirked beside her, shaking his head in mock pity. My name is Ella, and for 29 years, I'd been the family disappointment. Chloe was the golden child, outgoing, charming, effortlessly social. Cheerleading squad, business degree, a marketing job. Me. I was too quiet, too awkward, too obsessed with computers and coding. I didn't fit their mold. 5 years ago, when I told them I was starting a tech company, they actually laughed. My dad said I was wasting my time. My mom said I should get a real job. Chloe called me delusional. But I didn't stop. I worked 70-hour weeks, lived in a cramped studio, survived on instant ramen and black coffee. I poured every ounce of myself into building my startup. I taught myself advanced programming, worked with investors, attended pitch competitions. Slowly, painfully, I built something real. And this morning, just hours before walking into this Thanksgiving dinner, I'd signed the final paperwork. My company sold for $8.5 million. I looked up at my parents, at Chloe's gleeful expression, at the entire table watching me like a wounded animal being put out of its misery. They had no idea, not a single clue. I forced a small, tight smile, and then I said, softly, "Thank you." My mother's shoulders relaxed. My father nodded, satisfied. Chloe lowered her phone, looking almost disappointed I hadn't broken down. "We knew you'd understand," my mom said, reaching to pat my hand. "It's for the best, sweetheart. Sometimes people just need a push." I nodded, slipping the check and ticket back into the envelope. My fingers trembled, but not from sadness. It was anger, pure, simmering anger I'd been swallowing for 3 decades. They thought they were getting rid of me, solving their problem. They had no idea they were about to lose the only person in that room who had actually made something of herself. I glanced at Chloe, still holding her phone, probably planning a snarky caption. I met her eyes and gave her the faintest smirk. She frowned, confused. Good. Let her wonder. Growing up, I was always the odd one out. Chloe, 3 years younger, was the golden child. Parents celebrated her B+S, but barely glanced at my straight A's. They went to her cheerleading competitions. They didn't even show up when I won a regional coding award. I stopped trying to impress them around 16. I realized nothing I did would ever be enough. So, I focused on what I loved: technology, problem solving, building things that mattered. My parents refused to help with my state university tuition, saying I needed to learn responsibility. Meanwhile, they bankrolled Chloe's private school, bought her a car, set her up in a nice apartment. I worked 3 part-time jobs, graduated with honors, a computer science degree, and 0 family support. When I started my company, I didn't tell them much. I knew they wouldn't care. I kept my head down, worked in silence, and built something extraordinary. Now, sitting here with their insulting check, I realized how little they knew about me. My mother was talking again. Something about Austin's vibrant young professional scene. I tuned her out. I thought about the acquisition contract, signed and finalized. I thought about the $8.5 million hitting my account. I thought about the future I was stepping into, a future they had no part in. Chloe put her phone down, looking smug. She thought she'd won. She thought she'd captured my defeat. She had no idea what was coming. I'd always been invisible to them. Even now, they discussed my life like I wasn't even there. They saw a failure, a disappointment, someone to be managed. But I wasn't invisible anymore. I'd built something they couldn't understand, achieved something they couldn't imagine. And soon, very soon, they were going to realize exactly who I was. I tucked the envelope into my purse and stood up. "Where are you going?" my mother asked, startled. "Just getting some air," I said, my voice calm. "I'll be back." I walked out onto the back porch, letting the cool November air fill my lungs. The city lights of Portland glittered. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. They wanted me gone. Fine. I would leave, but not the way they expected. I pulled out my phone, opened my email. There it was at the top of my inbox. Acquisition finalized. "Congratulations, Ella." I smiled. Let them think they won. Let them believe they'd gotten rid of their embarrassing daughter. Let Chloe post her stupid video. Because in a few days, the news would break. And when it did, their entire world was going to shatter. I slipped my phone back into my pocket and returned to the table, my face carefully neutral. "Everything okay?" my father asked. "Everything's perfect," I said. And I meant it. The dinner continued, but I barely tasted the food. My mind was miles away, planning. I would cash their check. Why not? It was the least they owed me after years of neglect. I would take their plane ticket and go to Austin. Not because they wanted me to, but because I'd always wanted a fresh start, somewhere without their judgment. But first, I'd let them sit in their arrogance a little longer. I'd let them think they'd solve their problem. And then, I'd let the truth come crashing down like a tidal wave. Chloe glanced at me, still smug. I met her gaze and smiled sweetly. She looked away, uncomfortable. Perfect. The storm was coming, and I couldn't wait to watch them drown in it. I could pinpoint the exact moments I should have realized they'd never see me. The 8th grade science fair, where I built a functioning robot from spare parts. First place, my parents. At Chloe's soccer game, watching her sit on the bench. My high school graduation, where I was valedictorian. My mom complained the ceremony was too long. Chloe didn't even show. The day I got my university acceptance with a partial scholarship, my father glanced at it and said, "Hope you're planning to cover the rest yourself." 3 years into building my startup, I tried one last time. I showed up at Sunday dinner with a prototype. My father barely looked up. My mother asked if I'd considered a job with benefits. Chloe laughed. That was the last time I tried. I stopped going to family dinners. Stopped calling. Stopped hoping they'd be proud. I poured all that hurt, all that rejection into my work. Every line of code was defiance. Every investor meeting was proof. Every milestone was a step away from the girl they thought I was. Sitting at that Thanksgiving table, with their pathetic check in my hand, I realized something profound. I had already won. The moment I stopped needing their approval was the moment I became unstoppable. They just didn't know it yet. Dinner dragged. Relatives made small talk about Chloe's promotion, praising her endlessly. "So driven, Chloe," my mother beamed. I sat, pushing mashed potatoes. No one asked me anything. It was like I'd already left. When dessert came, I finally spoke up. "Thank you for the check," I said, looking directly at my parents. "And the ticket. I really appreciate it." My father nodded approvingly. "We're glad you're being reasonable." "Not at all." I forced a smile. "A fresh start is exactly what I need." My mother looked relieved. "So glad you understand, sweetheart. It's for the best. You've been stuck, spinning your wheels." Chloe snorted. "Yeah, maybe you'll actually find something that works out for once." I turned to her, my smile unwavering. "Maybe." She looked away, unsettled by my calm. She'd expected tears, anger. Instead, I was agreeable. "Good." Let her squirm. Hunter, ever so subtly condescending, chimed in. "Honestly, Ella, this is probably the best thing. Hard reset, you know? Start over somewhere nobody knows you." I wanted to throw my water glass at him. Instead, I just nodded. "You're absolutely right," I said sweetly. My aunt, who'd been silent, added, "Very generous of your parents. Not every family would be so supportive." Supportive? The word tasted like poison. "I'm very lucky," I said, my voice flat. My uncle piled on. "Sometimes rock bottom forces you to reevaluate. Maybe this is your rock bottom, Ella, and you'll finally make something of yourself." Rock bottom. As if I hadn't already climbed mountains they couldn't even imagine. After dessert, everyone moved to the living room. I excused myself, but lingered in the hallway. I heard their voices. "I think that went better than expected," my father said. "Much better," my mother agreed. "I was worried she'd make a scene." Chloe laughed. "She knows she doesn't have a choice." "I mean, what's she going to do? Keep pretending her little tech thing is going somewhere." "Hunter, honestly, 10 grand is generous. She's been mooching off your goodwill for years." My mother sighed. "I know, but we couldn't just cut her off completely. People would talk. At least this way, we can say we helped her get a fresh start." "Exactly," my father said. "And once she's gone, we won't have to deal with the embarrassment anymore. She's been a weight around our necks for too long." I stood frozen. A weight. An embarrassment. I knew they didn't respect me, but hearing it so casually, so matter-of-factly, was a punch to the gut. Then my mother's voice dropped to a whisper. $10,000 is more than she deserves, honestly. But at least this way, she'll leave quietly. I just hope she doesn't come back when the money runs out. My father chuckled darkly. "If she does, we'll just ignore her calls. Once she's in Austin, she's not our problem anymore," Chloe added. "I can't wait to tell everyone she finally left. It'll be such a relief not having to explain why my older sister is such a mess." Hunter laughed. "Just tell them she moved away to find herself, or whatever. That's what people say when their relatives are failures. More than I deserve. Not our problem. Such a mess. Failures." The words hit me like physical blows. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. I couldn't lose control now. Not when I was so close. I walked back into the living room, my face a mask. "Everything okay?" my mother asked, saccharine sweet. "Fine," I said. "Just needed a moment." I sat through another hour of polite conversation, Chloe showing off vacation photos, my parents fawning. I felt like a ghost. Finally, around 9 p.m. I stood. "Heading out," I said. My mother hugged me stiffly. "Good luck in Austin, Ella. We'll miss you." Liar, I thought. But I smiled. "Thanks, Mom." Chloe waved from the couch. "Send me pics." "Sure," I said. Hunter raised his glass in a mock toast. I walked out, and I didn't look back. The drive home was quiet. My mind raced, replaying everything. They tried to humiliate me, erase me, and thought they'd succeeded. They had no idea. Back in my apartment, I opened my laptop. The acquisition agreement. Real. $8.5 million. Paid in full. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in years, a profound peace settled over me. I'd done it. I'd built something meaningful, valuable, life-changing. And my parents had no clue. I spent the weekend packing, tying up loose ends. Movers for Austin. Address changes. On Saturday, my lawyer congratulated me again. Her genuine warmth was a stark contrast to my family's coldness. "You should be incredibly proud," she said. "What you've built is remarkable. An exit like this at your age is extraordinary." "Thank you," I said, and I meant it. Monday morning, I boarded the flight they paid for. Austin was warm and sunny when I landed. I took a cab to the apartment I'd already rented, a spacious 2-bedroom, in a nice neighborhood, paid for with my money. I didn't need their $10,000 to survive, but I cashed their check anyway. It felt symbolic, like accepting their final insult before cutting them out of my life completely. I deposited it. The $10,000 meant nothing to me now, but I took it because they'd offered it with such condescension, such certainty that it was more than I deserved. They would regret those words. Wednesday morning, 3 days after Thanksgiving, I was in a coffee shop when my phone exploded. Texts, calls, from numbers I recognized. My mother, my father, Chloe, Hunter. I ignored them all. I opened the news app. There it was, front and center. Portland-based tech startup acquired for $8.5 million. And below the headline, a photo of me, smiling confidently. I read the article slowly, savoring every word. It detailed the acquisition, praised my innovative approach, quoted the CEO calling me one of the brightest minds in the industry. It mentioned my background, my education, the 5 years I spent building from nothing. My software was revolutionary. I'd be a major force. I set my phone down, took a sip of coffee. They knew now. They all knew. My phone buzzed. A voicemail from my mother. I played it on speaker. Ella, sweetie, we just saw the news. Why didn't you tell us? This is incredible. Call us back. We need to talk. We're so proud of you. So proud. I almost laughed. 3 days ago, I was an embarrassment. Now, someone to be proud of. I deleted the voicemail. Another buzz. Text from Chloe. OMG, Ella. I had no idea. Why didn't you say anything? Call me. I blocked her number. My father's voicemail. His tone a mix of pride and desperation. Ella, this is your father. We need to discuss this acquisition. There are financial implications, tax considerations. Call me immediately. Of course, he was thinking about how to get a piece of it. I deleted that one too. They wanted to talk. They wanted to be part of my success now that it was public. But it was too late. I spent the rest of the day ignoring their calls. That evening, I turned my phone back on. 67 missed calls. Over 150 texts. My mother. Please call us back. We're worried about you. We need to celebrate. My father. We need to talk about your future. This is important. Opportunities we should discuss. Chloe, you can't just ignore us. We're your family. I'm your sister. We should be celebrating. Family. They wanted to claim me now that I was worth something. But where were they when I was struggling? When I worked 3 jobs? When I poured my heart into my company? Nowhere. They were laughing, dismissing, trying to push me out. Now they wanted back in. My aunt sent a message. Ella, your mother is beside herself. Please call her. She loves you very much and is so proud. She loves me? Where was that love 3 days ago? Even my uncle. Congratulations on your success. Your parents are thrilled. Please reach out to them. I opened a new text message. To my mother. I'm fine. Don't contact me again. Then I blocked her number. I did the same with my father, Chloe, Hunter, and every other family member who sat at that Thanksgiving table and watched me get humiliated without saying a word. I was done. Over the next few days, the news spread. Journalists, industry leaders, venture capitalists. I gave a handful of carefully selected interviews, highlighting my journey, my vision. In every interview, I was asked about my family and support system. They've been very supportive. I lied smoothly, keeping my expression neutral. I'm grateful for the foundation they provided. I didn't know them honesty. I didn't know them anything. I certainly wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of publicly acknowledging their rejection. Let them read between the lines. Let them wonder why I didn't thank them specifically. Meanwhile, my parents' desperation grew. Through mutual acquaintances I hadn't blocked, I heard they were struggling to save face. Why hadn't they known? Why hadn't they supported her? My mother apparently broke down at a luncheon when someone congratulated her on her successful daughter. She couldn't explain. One woman even said, "You must be so proud to raise such an accomplished daughter all on your own." My mother burst into tears and left. Chloe's smugness evaporated. Her Thanksgiving video, my supposed humiliation, was now her deep embarrassment. She posted it, then deleted it when she realized how catastrophically it would backfire. But the internet never forgets. Screenshots circulated. People called her out for mocking her sister's success. Her carefully curated image crumbled. I didn't feel sorry for any of them. They had made their bed. Now they could lie in it. The calls didn't stop, but the tone shifted. First pride, then confusion, then anger. My father left a voicemail that bordered on threatening. Ella, you need to call me back. We deserve to be part of this conversation. You wouldn't have gotten here without us raising you. You owe us that much. Don't forget where you came from. I listened once, then deleted it. He was wrong. I didn't know them anything. If anything, I'd gotten here in spite of them. Chloe tried a different approach. A long, rambling email, apologizing for everything. Claiming jealousy, pressure to be perfect. Begging forgiveness. I read it twice, searching for genuine remorse. I found none. It was performative. Words were pretty, but empty. She didn't apologize for specifics, just vague mistakes. I archived it without responding. My mother's attempts were the most invasive. Flowers to my new apartment donated. Calls to my lawyer politely rebuffed. She even tracked me down. One afternoon, I saw her through the window of an Austin coffee shop, looking desperate, clutching her designer purse. Her eyes were red. She looked smaller. I gathered my things and slipped out the back. I wasn't interested in reconciliation. Not in excuses or manufactured apologies. I'd spent 29 years being invisible. Now that I was visible, I didn't want them to see me. A month after the acquisition, I got an invitation to speak at a prestigious tech conference in Seattle. A keynote speaker. Exactly what I dreamed of. I accepted, despite my anxiety. This was my new life. The day of the conference, I stood backstage, heart pounding. But beneath the nerves was excitement, pride, fierce determination. I walked onto the stage to thunderous applause. 2,000 people. Entrepreneurs, investors, developers. I looked out, feeling a surge of belonging. Mid-presentation, I saw them. 2 familiar faces in the back row. My father and mother. Arms crossed. My mother clutching her purse, just like in Austin. They watched me with hope, desperation, and something that might have been shame. I froze, just for a split second. How did they get tickets? Public conference. Anyone could buy a pass. I took a deep breath and continued, refusing to let their presence derail me. I didn't look at them again. I focused on the people who cared. When I finished, the applause was deafening. Standing ovation. Tears pricked my eyes. I'd done it. Proven myself. Not just to them, but to myself and the world. As I walked off stage, my parents tried to intercept me. Ella, wait! My father stepped forward. We need to talk. I looked at him, then at my mother. Her eyes red-rimmed, mascara smudged. She'd been crying. Please, sweetheart, she whispered. Just 5 minutes. That's all. I shook my head slowly. I don't have anything to say to you. My father's face hardened. You can't just cut us out. We're your parents. We raised you. We sacrificed for you. Gave you a home, food, education. Sacrificed for me? A bitter laugh escaped. You paid for nothing. You supported nothing. You believed in nothing I did. My mother reached out, but I stepped back. We made mistakes, Ella. We see that now. But we love you. We've always loved you. Please, you have to believe that. You didn't love me at Thanksgiving, I said quietly, my voice steady despite the emotion churning inside. You told everyone I was an embarrassment, a weight around your necks. You said $10,000 was more than I deserved. My mother's face went pale. She hadn't known I overheard. You paid me to disappear, I continued, my voice growing stronger. You wanted me gone so badly that you bought me a one-way ticket and handed me a check like I was some problem you could throw money at. So I left. That's what you wanted, isn't it? My father's face turned red. You're being completely unreasonable, Ella. After everything we did for you, we put a roof over your head for 18 years. Everything you did for me. I cut him off, my voice rising. You did nothing. I paid my own way through college while you bankrolled Chloe's private school. I built my company with my own hands, my own intelligence, my own determination while you mocked me at every turn. You didn't believe in me. You didn't support me. You wanted me gone. That's not fair, my mother said weakly, tears streaming. We were trying to help you find your way. Fair. I stared at her. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when you didn't show up to my valedictorian speech? Was it fair when you laughed at my business idea? When you told me I'd never amount to anything? Was it fair when you spent thousands on Chloe's college while refusing to give me a single dollar? Neither of them had an answer. I took a deep breath. I don't owe you forgiveness. I don't owe you a relationship. You made your choice 3 weeks ago. Now I'm making mine. Ella, please. My mother reached for me again. But I turned and walked away, leaving them standing in that hallway. I didn't look back. Behind me, I heard my mother sob and my father say something harsh. But I kept walking. That night, alone in my hotel room, I let myself feel everything. I cried. Not for them, but for the girl I'd been, who tried so hard to earn love that should have been freely given. For all the years I'd wasted, hoping they would see me. And then, I dried my tears, ordered room service, and started planning my next venture. The next morning, more messages from extended family. Some said I was too harsh. Others hoped I'd forgive. But a few surprised me. My cousin Brianna, whom I hadn't spoken to in years, sent a long message. I always knew they treated you unfairly. I saw it. The way they lit up when Chloe walked in and barely acknowledged you. The way they talked about you when you weren't there. I should have said something, and I'm sorry I didn't. But I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. You don't owe them anything. Live your best life, Ella. You've earned it. That message meant more to me than any apology from my parents ever could. I threw myself into my new life. Consulting for startups, strategic investments in women and underrepresented entrepreneurs, people who reminded me of my younger self. I started a blog about entrepreneurship, resilience, and cutting toxic relationships out of your life. It resonated with thousands, validating their own choices to walk away from people who diminish them. One woman wrote, "I've been trying to earn my father's approval for 40 years. Reading your story made me realize I never will, and that's okay. I'm enough on my own." It felt powerful to transform my pain into something that could help others. Meanwhile, my parents' situation spiraled. Through those few mutual friends, I heard they were being quietly ostracized. People were asking uncomfortable questions. Why hadn't they known about her success? Why had they tried to get rid of her? My mother became a recluse. The shame of being exposed as the mother who paid her daughter to leave town was too much. Her social life withered. My father's consulting business collapsed. He had to take a job he considered beneath him, the humiliation eating at him. He aged 10 years in 12 months. Chloe's promotion was rescinded after her Thanksgiving video kept resurfacing. She was demoted, then quit, unable to face her coworkers. Hunter left her, citing her family drama and cruelty. Their divorce was brutal. She moved back in with my parents. The three of them, living in quiet misery, blaming each other. I didn't take pleasure in their suffering, but I didn't feel sorry for them either. They had created the situation through their own choices, their own cruelty, their own arrogance. 6 months after Thanksgiving, I was in my beautiful new home in Austin, a house I bought outright with my acquisition money, when my phone rang from an unknown number. Something told me to answer. "Hello, Ella. It's your father." I should have hung up, but curiosity won. "What do you want?" A long pause, then a heavy sigh. I wanted to apologize. Truly, genuinely apologize. Not because I want something from you, but because I need you to know that I was wrong. I said nothing, waiting. Your mother and I have been doing a lot of reflecting. We see now how badly we treated you, how completely we failed you as parents. We let our own insecurities and narrow definitions of success cloud our judgment. We were wrong, Ella, about everything. And I'm deeply, truly sorry. His voice cracked. He was crying. For a brief moment, I felt a flicker of something. Not sympathy, but an acknowledgement of his pain. But then I remembered. Every dismissive comment, every missed event, every time they'd chosen Chloe, every moment they'd made me feel worthless. "I appreciate the apology," I said quietly, my voice steady. "But it doesn't change anything." "I understand," he said, voice thick. "I don't expect you to forgive us or welcome us back. I just needed you to know that we're sorry, that we see what we did, that we failed you in every way. Parents should never fail a child." "You did." I agreed simply. "Your mother wanted to call herself, but she couldn't stop crying. Chloe wanted to reach out, too. We're all dealing with the consequences." "Good," I said. "You should be." A long silence. "Is there anything Anything at all that we could do to make this right? He asked, desperation creeping in. No, I said simply. There isn't. What's done is done. I heard him take a shaky breath. I understand. I wanted you to know. And I wanted you to know that despite everything, we're proud of what you've accomplished. You don't get to be proud, I said firmly. Pride is earned through support and belief. You gave me neither. You're right, he said quietly. You're absolutely right. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of his words. Goodbye, I said softly, and I hung up. I sat there for a long moment, holding my phone, feeling strangely empty. Then I set it down, called my dog Scout, the golden retriever I'd adopted a month earlier, and went for a walk in the warm Texas evening. As the months turned into years, I built a life I was genuinely proud of. A house in Austin with large windows, a backyard for Scout, a home office for my new projects, a garden. I made real friends, people who valued me for me. I traveled extensively, hiked through New Zealand, soaked in hot springs under the northern lights in Iceland. I took up rock climbing, pottery, piano lessons. For the first time, I felt whole, complete, free. I never reconciled with my parents or my sister. They reached out occasionally, birthdays, holidays, but I kept my boundaries firm. I didn't know them forgiveness. I didn't know them a relationship. I didn't know them access to the life I had built from the ashes of their rejection. They had given me a check and a plane ticket, thinking they were ridding themselves of an embarrassment, solving a problem, erasing a stain. Instead, they had freed me to become everything they said I could never be. And I had used that freedom to build something extraordinary. Their lives never recovered. My mother became a recluse. Her once vibrant social life withered. My father's business collapsed. Chloe struggled through failed relationships and jobs, her reputation permanently tarnished. She eventually left Portland, working at a grocery store in a small Montana town. The family that had once looked down on me now carried the weight of their choices every single day. Their lives, a testament to valuing image over integrity, cruelty over kindness, pride over love. As for me, I stood in my sun-filled home office in Austin, looking at the vision board for my next venture, a platform to connect underrepresented entrepreneurs with resources and mentorship. Scout was sleeping peacefully at my feet. I had built a life beyond their comprehension, achieved success beyond their imagination, and found peace beyond their reach. The revenge I had taken wasn't loud or dramatic. It was simply becoming everything they said I could never be, and doing it completely without them. I learned the best revenge wasn't destruction. It was success so complete that their absence from my life became the punishment they inflicted upon themselves. And as I sat down to work on my next project, surrounded by the life I had built with my own hands, my own mind, my own determination, I realized that the girl who had sat at that Thanksgiving table, clutching a check and a plane ticket, had finally, truly, completely found her way home. Have you ever had to cut ties with family who just couldn't see you for who you truly are? Or experienced a moment where your biggest failure turned out to be your greatest freedom? I really want to hear your thoughts down in the comments.